you to see if there's any kind of hazards or anything that you may need to look out for should a hazard arise and you need to exit or shelter in place. So go ahead and take about 2 minutes to do your own self-evaluation, then we'll get this thing kicked off.
I just wanted to know why. I was curious. Yeah. Remember what thing that fell? Curiosity killed the cat.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. First, I'd like to start off by welcoming 2 new members to the team. We've got Josh Clark with us from PPL. He is our new co-chair for the Inventor group. So, Josh, would you like to take a couple minutes just to kind of give everybody a little bit of your background and well, anything else you'd like to add?
Hi, everybody. I'm Josh. I work for PPL here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I've been with the company for about 5 years now, actually a little over 5 years now. I've been working with the 3D stuff since we started it here at PPL, which was almost 2 years ago at this point. And we worked with both Inventor and Vault at the same time. So I've experienced with both of those. Yeah, it's kind of the quick rundown for anything like that. So glad to be here, and I'm here, to help answer any questions and help Jeremy out.
Thank you. And next, we've got a big welcome for Steve Kaufman from SDS. He's our new Inventor technical advisor for our group. So, Steve, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving everybody a little bit of your background as well.
Yeah, it's Steve. I've been working with large assembly 3D with Inventor for about 18 years. I got on with Dan and Trevor around 2013, and I've been working with them from Automation Force to Autodesk and now SDS. So I'm really excited about hearing best practices and what other people are doing, and maybe we can boil those down to a common best practice if we can. But I'm not sure. I'm just new here.
Thank you, sir. So I wasn't really expecting even this big of a turnout, but I'm glad to see all of you have been able to join. So we've already covered the safety. Can you make me the presenter? Fidel? They're, oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry about that. So Josh and I are going to spend some time over the next month cleaning up the agenda, getting it rearranged and better organized to reflect a lot of the newer best practices that we had discussed in our last face-to-face meeting, and get all those into here. So I know that we don't have a whole lot of our best practice individuals on the line, but we do have a couple. So I guess we will start off with going down the list. So inventor performance for substation design, new, need a forum. I don't have an update on that. I went to create a forum, and I know I had some issues with the website. This was during the time that the website was having the issues. The issues have all been resolved, of course, but I need to go see if that forum's out there. So let's go ahead and do that. Yep, okay, we did get it started up. So we've got the new form out there. We've got Josh Clark, he commented on it. Still, we don't have anybody else's comments on there, so I would recommend that you get out there and kind of take a look, see what you can offer to this forum to help with some of the feedback for it, the best practice document. Do we have any questions on that or how to use the form or anything? Okay. So we've got the toolkit topics would be the next one. So issues, we had one issue come up with conduit runs. Terry's working on that with Steve Mattingly for a best practice on that. Do you have any update as to that bug, Terry? And do you know if that's coming out with that new toolkit update on February 1st?
I think that there just needs to be a different workflow defined, and so yes, it'll be addressed in the best practice document. And Steve Kaufman has given me quite a bit of information on, you know, best practice for conduit, so that'll be included in that.
Okay.
Is anybody working with the conduit now?
Duke, we're going to be putting it into our re-implementation, which kicks off first quarter 2017. So I don't have a whole lot of people playing with it at this point, but they will be probably mid next year when they really start getting into building the projects out.
Okay, well, we should be ready with the document by then, so that would be good. But if anybody does have any issues, you know, please feel free to contact me or Steve and Steve Mattingly or Steve Kaufman, and we'll help you work through it.
Thank you, Terry. I'm writing notes, sorry for being quiet. Okay. Thank you. And then the enhancement request from Michael Chasser to add rigid bus cutting schedule tool. Sorry, Curtis, it disappeared on me when I went to go read that. Curtis just sent me a message. Having an issue with the SDS site, filtering by IT has restricted a lot of sites for us. Working with the issue, not sure when they will resolve it. Okay, Curtis, thank you for that information. We at Duke had the same problem. The way that we handled that was we pretty much got in touch with IT, showed that it was there's a business reason for using the site, and then they pretty much opened it up almost immediately. If you need any help or would like any advice on that, contact me offline and I'll see what I can do to help maybe expedite that for you with your team. Let's see. So last request came in from Michael Chesser as well. We need a tool for properly handling the bus expansion fittings to depict them more accurately. I believe we got those turned over to Trevor. I need to follow up to make sure that that has been turned over to him. So let me write a note here to myself. You didn't hear anything about that with the updates, did you, Terry?
No, I have no idea what the updates are going to be. I just know there's 180 of them.
Okay.
I'm thinking that they're going to center mostly around the enterprise and design checking
Okay.
portion. One thing I don't think that has been mentioned is that when an update, the edit bus tool is used to change a bus size, a rigid bus size, it does not update the iProperty information. Has anybody else run into that?
So when you go to update, so when you need to change, say from, we'll say a 2-inch to a 3-inch pipe, then the iProperty information stays with the 2-inch?
Correct. That's the way it's worked for me.
Sounds like the way that they're handling that then is they're actually updating the part and not replacing the part like they used to do.
Right.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
having that same thing.
Does that happen with the cables as well? When you update the cables, you're seeing the same iProperties?
It
No.
does. It happens.
Oh, it does?
That's what
should.
we've had.
I haven't had that happen with the cable. It's changed. It's actually changed the iProperties to the correct information. But I'll check that. I haven't checked it lately.
Well, I know that there have been a lot of requests about getting getting the toolkits updated so that when you updated, say, a cable run, it didn't redraw it every time it created a new file. And so if it's not redrawing it and creating a new file, I don't really know how it would be able to update the properties if it's not putting a new one in. So I'll follow up on that as well.
I'm quite sure that's one of the updates is to not replace the cable but to update the cable in February.
Okay. Good.
All right. Okay. And then, has anybody tried to actually put the SD editor in Vault yet? It's on the call. Steve, have you dealt with you know, the bigger companies that, you know, would need to run off of the same information from the SD editor, and if so, how did they deal with that?
So you're talking about the placement of the database for the editor?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. The only solution I have that I've experienced is just having that the SD3DB file copied every time you open up Inventor, so you get your IT department to have a BAT file. I'm sorry, get your IT department to get the BAT file to write to a location on your hard drive where it resides every time you boot up. And then you have your librarian changing that file, saving it, and then the next morning when people boot up, that file is replaced with the one the librarian is using.
Okay. So,
That's
do you
the only
have
one
any kind of documentation on that at all?
No, other than just that statement. Previous to SDS, I was doing stuff like that for the company I was at.
Yeah, I'd worked with Dan on trying to get it vaulted to make it a little easier, but it was being a little problematic, and I was kind of curious if they were addressing that in the update too. I'll follow up and ask for sure, but I highly doubt they did. Okay. All right. Got that note. All right. Thank you. Got plenty of notes now, stuff to follow up on. So this is the point where we turn it over to discuss workflows among utilities. Now we got a lot of people on the line, but we'll go ahead and start at the top. So what we'll do is I'll go down the list and just call you off name by name from top to bottom. And if there's anything that you've either run into or experienced within your workflow that you'd like to share, whether it's an aha moment or a improvement, or even if you're running into an issue that you would like to discuss and kind of get out there to see if we can solve somehow, this is your opportunity to do so. So we'll go ahead and start at the top with Josh Clark.
Basically, I have those 2 best practice documents. I unfortunately wasn't able to share at the face-to-face a month ago and stuff like that. I'm hopefully going to try and post those up on the website, stuff like that, what I have, so people can see them, and then hopefully get any responses or whatever on them and stuff like that that anybody would have. So hopefully I'll get that done within the next, by the end of this week. I'm hoping to do it.
Okay. Anything workflow related that you'd like to share?
The only thing we've been focused mostly on greenfield, and I just came from a meeting right before this and stuff like that we might actually dabble with a brownfield project. So I know it's going to be a little different with some things or whatever, but I'm not sure exactly how we're handling, if we're just going to do part of the sub in 3D or we're going to actually do the whole thing in 3D. So I might have be able to help out with some, as we work into some brownfield projects and stuff on there. I got to see in the next couple of weeks what we're actually going to do and not do for a project like this.
Gotcha. So one of the things that we did with our workflows, we basically give you like a scenario to choose from. So if you've got the scenario 1, which would be the recommended solution, if you've got the time and availability, model the whole thing. But if you don't, then you move to scenario 2, where you just model, the stuff that you need, and then anything that it would connect to, of course. And then you basically just kind of bubble that in the AutoCAD drawings and delete that information and just say see inventor drawing / drawing number. And then on the inventor drawings, you just kind of put a bubble on the side there and say see AutoCAD drawings for that section. It was just an easier way for us to handle it. Maybe an idea for you to kind of kick around.
Yeah, I mean, we have a nice, what we're doing, we're kind of doing like, the high side half of the sub and stuff like that. So it's, kind of a nice break point. So it's just whether we're going to tackle the, they're doing some, minor stuff on the lower end and stuff like that. So we're going to try and just persuade them just to, hey, let's just do the whole project and, make a whole 3D model out of it. We seem to have enough time to allow that, but I don't know if they'll get the buy-in off it or not. So we'll have to see.
Gotcha. Okay, so move on to the next person, be Curtis Bussey.
One of the things that I was going to kind of bring to everybody's attention, or just see how people were handling, was the orphans. You know, there's a lot of orphan files from the toolkit when you go in and create a project, and as you remove conduit and cable and things like that from the assembly, and do new conduit or new cable, there's all those orphans that are left in the project. I was just curious to see how people were handling that.
Is that being used inside a vault?
Correct. Because if you copy design, you get out everything that comes out with that, and then say they move a breaker or move a switch, they have to run new cable. Well, all those orphan files are still there, even though they're not in the assembly anymore.
Yep.
There used to be a utility that you could run in Vault to find those, but I just wanted to see what everybody else was doing.
When I was at NES, when I would finish the job, I would check everything out from the drawing out of the vault, from the drawings, and then any of the files in the vault that didn't get checked out, I would move them to our delete these files folder. And there might be a better way to handle that, but at least that kept the vault fairly cleaned up.
I know at PPL here, we like for when we do a copy design, like we build ours. When we do a copy design, it's off like a complete substation, it's fully built out and stuff. So there's only certain stuff that we copy over, and like the cables and stuff like that, we don't copy over because you're going to end up redoing those. We build our subs on a slope grade, so that changes the height and stuff of things. So anything that's kind of like affected like that, the cables, they just got to be redrawn anyway. So we don't copy them over, so we don't have duplicates of some of that stuff. And then just like Terry said, I've done and checked out the whole thing and stuff like that, and what's not checked out or what's not attached to the model anymore, I just get rid of.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I handled it too when I was messing with the toolkits as well. It definitely gets to be a pain with all those orphans in there. A lot of files that you don't need. So it'd be nice to have a way to know exactly which one of those files are without having to go through those extra steps, for sure.
Yes, because then you have to make sure that they're not on your workspace also.
Yep. How are you handling them, Curtis?
Well, right now, we're still in kind of the middle of it. We're not really building anything yet, so it's not a big problem, but I'm trying to think ahead. Right now what we're doing is just basically going in there and looking and deleting them if there's no parent.
Yep. Okay. It's pretty much the same thing everybody else has to do. All right, gotcha.
I just know at the project level, as we move forward, we start having, that's easy for me to do, but we start getting into, our phase where we have all these other people doing design work that aren't very skilled at Inventor and Vault yet, that could be a big issue.
End up with a bunch of files in your vault that aren't being used or needed. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, and with only 3 designers at NES, it became a big issue. So I can imagine for a larger company.
Yeah, we would, we're looking at, 30 to 60. So
Right.
that could really, and everybody, I know one of the things that was funny in a meeting here, we heard someone from IT made a comment about storage being cheap, but I don't think it's that cheap.
That's funny. I have an IT guy that keeps saying that to me too.
I can assure you your database people aren't saying that.
Yeah, no. Maybe they didn't weigh in. So I've got would be nice to have a way to identify those files, especially since it's a big issue between 3 designers and grows exponentially. So I'll bring that up when I talk to Trevor. One of the things that that might help with that though is if they actually start updating those files as opposed to replacing them every time. That's going to help with that a lot. So we might not see near as many orphans that way. But of course, they're going to have to be able to update the iProperties if it's like a size change or something like that too. So I'll follow up with them and let you guys know what I find out. Anything else, Curtis?
That's it for now.
Okay. Next on the list is Fidel. I'm just be listening and not talking. So we'll move on to Mr. Justin Ayer.
I don't really have anything at this point in time.
Okay.
Just been, as you pointed out, the Duke process, a lot of it has been either talked through or put out there for review.
All right. Moving on to, sorry, go ahead.
That's just what we're working with.
Okay. Next on the list is Jeff Johnson.
Just listening in.
Okay. Melinda Cam. All right. Let's not be on the line. So Robert Lee.
I guess my issue, I'm still new with Inventor, but as I'm drawing stuff, you still have to stop and create a switch or create something to me that would be good if it was out there for everybody already.
Yeah, I actually had heard a little grumbling about the SD model site supposed to start seeing some movement. I'll get verification on that and see if that's happening, because that's going to be huge for everybody if we've got if we can start sharing these models like we originally had planned. So Steve, I don't know if you have any information on that or not.
No, I don't. Not directly.
Is there any way that we could have some kind of a database that as everybody created something, you could just stick it out there and say, hey, I've created this, maybe you can use it, and put a whatever vendor it was. It may not be the exact switch or piece of equipment. The big stuff is not as big an issue to me as the smaller stuff.
Yeah,
there's the online browser.
Sorry,
the online browser has a number of components like fittings and such.
And also that Trevor did preview a bigger and better database that I think more vendors are going to buy into to post models on. So that's coming.
Okay.
I'd been to this the site that Trevor has, and I really didn't find anything that was real useful.
Well, yes, but I think that pretty soon, probably with the February release, that will improve immensely.
I can actually give a little background on that. So when he first brought it out, it was a great idea. As with, any, we'll even just say a software release, there's always updates to come. Trevor knew that there was going to be updates. He's actually made quite a few updates when it was still Automation Force under him with that. However, then when they got gobbled up by Autodesk was throwing big ideas such as, setting it up just like their Autodesk Seek site, things like that, which, sounded great. However, it really stalled out at Autodesk. We didn't get any movement with it. So now that it's with SDS, I'm very hopeful that this is going to, kick back up and we'll finally get the improvements that we've all been asking for this whole time. So let me follow up with Trevor just to, kind of see if I can get any insight as to information I can share with you guys about this site and where it's supposed, where he sees it going for the future, and when and or if we'll see updates coming to it.
And as Steve mentioned, there are quite a few fittings that can be used already. If you use the cloud search, what's it called?
Yes, the cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that Cepcord gave them everything that they had, I think, and those are all out there. So any Cepcord fittings that you're looking for should be out there. I know somebody had brought up an issue with one of the Cepcord fittings, and I need to follow up on that note that I had for that. But as always, with anything out on that site, don't ever plan on bringing it down and just using it right away. Do your due diligence to QA it, and then of course you're still going to have to add in your own information, things like that. So just keep that in mind whenever you do use the site. Okay. Did you have anything else, Robert?
No, that's good.
Okay. I know you're not really dealing with building substations out of utility, Steve, but I'll turn it over to you if you have any workflow discussions you'd like to bring up.
I think it's a long workflow, but a lot of the utilities I work with, they have one person doing the modeling and the detailing, the drawings and the modeling, and I really see it as a separate issue that you have modelers and you have detailers. And you can have less modelers and more detailers because the drawings can take quite a time. Detailers can be a little bit cheaper than modelers, and your modelers then can be more focused on metadata, the bills of material, and the model structure itself without having to be worried about the ballooning things in the right position and taking that time to detail a nice drawing. That's the only thing I have with a workflow in a utility.
Okay. So what we did at Duke, we actually broke it down into 3 different roles. You've got a parts builder, and then a designer, and then what we call the master librarian. Technically 4 if you count the admin, the vault admin, but they're really only handling the people management and the server management. The master librarian is more of the library management, QA, things like that, project release. Then going down to designer, they're the ones that are actually putting together the jobs, the projects, and doing the drawings. And then the next step down, last step down, being the part builder. These are the people building the parts for the library, handling like your local standards, detailing those out, things like that. It so far has been pretty successful in the selling aspect, but we're going to put it to practical use beginning 2017.
Does your part builder create assemblies as well? Standard
Yes,
assembly?
they do. Yeah, because the standard would be considered an assembly, and then of course you've got switches. That's still a part, but you'd want that as an assembly so that you can operate it, so you can get all your clearances, things like that. So yeah, they would build assemblies as well.
That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that
I have a quick question. I'm sorry, I have a quick question. When you're talking about the parts person building the assemblies, does he create that into a derived assembly? Is that the derived assemblies, is that part of the best practices, or how does that work?
I guess it'd be a little easier if I explain a little bit more. So when you want to get into using SDS at Duke, we have you take all the out-of-the-box training. That way we're not really focusing on trying to teach you how to use the software. Then you move into what we call the part builder training, and then you go through that training, and what that training will cover is what the models need to look like to go into the library. So these are your purchased items. And then we've also got a catalog library. And what the catalog library is, it's made up of, what most people in a 2D world call standards or plates or macros. So, these in the inventor world, hanging on them, things like that. And then we detail those out also in a drawing set that go with it. So you get all that from the part builder training. Then if you want to move up to the next level, then you get put into designer training. And what designer training entails is how to do a greenfield project, how to do a brownfield project, all the different scenarios involved with it, how to handle the bills of materials, how to detail the drawings out in the new environment, things like that. And then we keep the master librarian level a very elite few. So we actually have 4 regions, 5 engineering offices, so we're only putting 1 per region right now, but we're looking to put 1 per engineering office. So it'd be a total of 5 per discipline for each discipline. And at this point, we're only focused on ACAD and Inventor for phase 1. So you're only talking 8 to 10 librarians to cover the entire enterprise. So I kind of help explain it a little better on that approach. Still with me, Fidel?
Yes, I'm here. I thought it was microphone or something. Yeah.
Okay. If you ever want to see anything on that, though, touch base with me offline, and you can always email me, especially if you got any questions. But if you want to, talk about that in more detail or see anything that I've got for that, touch base with me offline, and I'll be more than happy to share any information I can with you. And that goes for anybody on the call, of course. So did you have anything else, Steve, that you'd like to add, or anybody else to that specific topic?
No, not me.
Okay. Next on the list is Steve Mooring.
I don't have anything. I think you, Robert, and Justin have touched on where we're at. So.
Next would be Ms. Terry.
So one thing I did want to mention as far as like a brownfield project is it's very easy to take an AutoCAD drawing or even, a like a TIFF file in AutoCAD, and then bring in the base view or any orientated view of a 3D model from Inventor. So that really helps with the brownfield project, makes it really easy if you already have the models created in Inventor. And if you've done greenfield, then probably you do. And then the only other question I really have is the workflow from creating to create the 2D drawings. I know Jeremy at Duke, y'all use a modular approach and send out a drawing package that references several details. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the catalog items like I was talking about, each one of those, they'll have their own drawing sets associated with them, so you can detail it out a lot better on a smaller scale, and you don't have to take so many section cuts of the entire station to try to get those details, which is a huge hindrance on performance and time. So then what we do is, so we copy design those those catalog items into the station, the project, and then we take when we go to create the drawings, we'll do the couple section cuts we need to show connection details of everything on the plan view, and then we'll open up the drawing set of the catalog items that were copied into the station and made station specific, and we'll just take those out of that drawing pack and we'll just stick them right into the site plan drawing set, and they still stay a live link to your assemblies that you've got station specific there. So if you ever change anything on them, those drawings and that you copied over will always update, and then that way you only really got to print from one instead of printing from each one of those and then referencing it that way. And it also lets you put on what sheet numbers to reference for each of those specific ones when you call them out on your parts list on your drawing.
So you do use a parts list. How do you handle the styles library for your parts list? Do you just have one style for all types of, say, foundation plan or conduit layout and electrical plan, or do you use different styles for your parts list? Okay.
We have a lot, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
pull up Inventor now and show you.
Well, yeah, at NES I probably had 15, and I'm just wondering if there's a better way to handle that or not.
Just from my just from my experience, this has been the best way to handle it. Create a different one for each of the different types of drawings that we're going to be using. If this would ever open, there it is. That it just makes it a little bit more easy for the designer or part builder when they're trying to create these things.
And do you filter by the view reps?
Yes. Well, not the view reps, but the level of detail. Yep.
So the way I've been working is I would create the view using a level of detail, and then the parts list I would use a view representation. I would filter by the view rep for the parts list. So
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So you've been using the level of detail for your view and the parts list.
Correct.
Okay.
No, on that, I find it's a mix of both at times. That depending on what it is, you use a view rep or a level of detail.
Okay.
Maybe open one.
I can never find what I'm looking for at the moment.
All right. Let's see. So when you first put it in, you get this do not use. So it actually kind of forces you to come over here. So anything that's prefixed with a C is for catalog items. And then you got EAA. Well, actually, it should say ELA. I haven't updated yet. But so that'd be like electrical arrangements, foundations, and then structures, and then fabrication. Each one of them is set up different to have the different columns. Come on. There we go. To have the different columns needed.
I really like your naming conventions.
And then the S would be on any of your site plan ones that you need. So that would be like your cabling or your conduit runs, cable trench, ELA, again, electrical arrangements. That'd be for your foundation plan, your grounding plan, your index, which is just basically an ISO view of the station and any ancillary drawings. And then your structure parts list.
Okay.
By doing that modular design, you don't really need the view reps to help you try to associate with certain different assemblies also. So using level of detail really kind of helps make things a little easier. And since I got this open, I'd also like to show off some of Justin's work.
Yeah,
He created some of these. So when we want to fill out our I properties, this will load them in there. Ignore that, probably because I got a drawing open, correct, Justin? Yep. So then, if you got a station drawing, that's all the stuff you need to fill out, and that'll load it right to the I properties. If you're working on a station assembly, you got that. You're gonna add all the I properties. I don't know how many of these are still being in the process of being updated, so ignore any of the errors or anything. But just kind of give you an idea of something that you can do with it. With iLogic is create these forms to do all that for you, and then you don't have to actually open up your I properties and fill out each different blank the way you feel like you need to.
Are you bringing, Jeremy, are you bringing some of those I properties in from the model as well, copying them in from the model?
Some, but not through
Not
the
at this
iLogic
point.
form.
So you don't use the assembly bill of material to fill in your I properties?
No, not for this. We do use the different things to fill out title blocks in certain areas, depending on what it is. I mean, we've also got this set up where we've got different sheet formats. So if I've got, purchased items, and I just need to detail it out or whatever for, QA purposes, some of this stuff will actually fill out from the I properties of the part.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And if you needed, say, a B size, you just click on that, and it's done. It's there, ready for you to use. So some of the little shortcuts that you guys can set up on your own to get that moving. But I was really impressed with some of the stuff Justin's been working on with the iLogic. with the forms and stuff. He has become the iLogic guru, which is why he is doing the iLogic best practice document.
So I have a question. So when you're putting your iLogic into the part, where is that information coming from? Is that a database that you have created or something?
No.
Go ahead, Justin.
I can do this one real quick for you. A lot of when you're building iLogic, you have two different areas. A lot of that is user input and rules in the background, and I've made those rules global rules, external rules, and global forms. So they're not associated in the actual file. They're associated with the actual Inventor program itself. So that way you don't have to insert it into every file if you didn't have it yet. But a lot of that comes from either user interface and then taking user interface in one area, and if it needs to be copied in two areas, you need it'll put it in both areas for you, so you only have to type it in once.
Can you go back to that example that you had with the iLogic? I'm just curious to know, because when you click on that button on one of those forms that it opens, if you on the part, it gives you this form. Is that just to give you the form to put the properties into the part?
Yeah, a lot of those are custom iProperties at this point, and
they're
so
the same
it's
as going
easier
into
to type it.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. They're the same as going into the
much easier interface.
iProperties. Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, and you can use iLogic for multiple things, not just this too. I mean, Justin's created fence programs where it'll automatically build a fence for you, as well as foundations. It'll create foundations for you by answering some questions. So this isn't, the limitation of iLogic. There's so much more you can do with it, and different ways that you can handle it. I know with these forms here, we're actually because we store all of our global inventor data, so we want all our basic, like styles, things like that. We store all that in Vault, just as we do the information for the iLogic code for running the forms, things like that. We store all that in an inventor data folder within Vault as well.
Yeah, I'm familiar with BBA, and I looked into the iLogic, and yeah, it has a lot of capabilities. Okay.
Okay. I hope I answered your question, Terry. I know we got a little off there, but.
No, it's great. I'm glad. Thanks for showing all of that, Jeremy.
No problem. Anytime.
And Justin, thanks for doing all that work. That's going to help a lot of us out.
Got to do it. It's all pretty easy.
Good.
Everything that you have there.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jeremy, with everything you have there, that looks like a good best practices document right there.
Yep. Oh, that's why Justin's working on the iProperty one. Okay, so did you have anything else you wanted to add, Terry?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. I know we're kind of running out of time here, and we lost the last person that we were going to go to for workflows, which was Mark Thomas. So I guess we can move on to, we'll skip all the best practice stuff until next time. Discuss any pressing issues anyone could be running into with Inventor or their current workflows. I'm not going to run down the list this time. Just speak up if you have something that you'd like to discuss being an issue. All right, silence is golden. All right, so discuss inventor functionality, needs, wants, and concerns along with toolkit. We'll just wrap these up into one. We had a topic come up between our last meeting and this one that I had added. So the shot to mold ratio needs to be added to the toolkits since you can use 3 or more shots per mold and can be different depending on the type of mold you have. I gotta get this out of the way. Sorry, there we go. The way it handles it now, it's a 1-to-1. So every time you get a shot, you get a mold, and that hits your bill of material. So we need to try to get a way to dictate, how many shots you actually use per mold, so it'll automatically update. So I'm going to follow up with Trevor on that one. Let's see. And then along those same lines is we also need the ability to select the different kinds of molds as you lay them, because the molds you could be using could either be parallel, cross, etc. Today you only get one kind with no selection abilities. So do we have any objections to pushing any of that forward towards Trevor? All right, good. I will follow that up with Trevor then. And then going around the room here, anybody else have any toolkit functionality or inventor functionality needs, wants, or concerns at this point? Okay, good. Then we'll do a quick roundtable. This time I will go down the line just to make sure we catch everybody. So we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. So this is your opportunity to bring up anything at this point. So Terry?
No, I'm good. Just, everybody start planning for the spring face-to-face meeting in St. Louis. I think it's going to be the 4th through the 6th, April 4th through the 6th.
Yep. Good call. Steve? Maury? Steve Kaufman?
Oh, I have nothing here. I really like more work, though, on those shots and molds and like that.
All right. Robert?
I'm good.
Melinda? Jeff?
Nope.
Justin?
I don't have anything at this point.
Fidel?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Curtis?
Nothing.
All right. And Josh?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, we've reached the end. Next time we will talk about, we'll spend a little more time talking about the best practice documents. Again, we got to get this list updated anyways. And we didn't have quite everybody on the line that actually is running a best practice document. I know some of these we had said that we're at a point where we're ready to push that forward and wrap that one up by the end of the year. So anybody on the line that has one of those documents, go ahead and continue to move forward with that. If you need any help, contact Josh or myself, and we'll try to help you with it. And then I did want to also say a big thank you for Terry, because her and her team put out the newsletters quarterly, and they do a lot of good work on that, a lot of hard work on that, and I know it's quite troubling to get all of us to submit everything that you need, but I just wanted to say thank you from our group and let everybody else know how much hard work you actually do behind the scenes that they probably don't know about.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's enjoyable. It keeps me hooked in.
So with that being said, that's all I have for this month. So I think we're still scheduled for next month. I don't see there being an issue with that. If it falls around Christmas, we'll figure that out. Look, see, so what our next one's the 15th, right?
Yeah, looks like it.
Yep. Okay. So plan on being here next month, and I will see you all then. Anytime in between, if you need anything, feel free to reach out to Josh or myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.